Wildflower Western Lifestyle Live with host Becca Salamone.
Hey everybody, I'm Becca Salamone and you're watching Wildflower Western Lifestyle Live, where we share the love of the American West and the cowboy way of life. And this is a very special almost July 4th show. It's July 3rd.
Close enough.
Yay! Happy 250th! Look at Miss Jessie Lynn over there, all decked out in the stars and stripes. So welcome to the show. I got a super special guest here. She's a friend of mine from years back in the horse world, and now she is a dirt to diva country music star, right? And so she's going to tell us her updates and kind of her music journey and how it's been going. Welcome to the show, Jessie Lynn. How you doing?
Oh, girl, I am doing so good. Thank you for having me, and thank you so much for the invitation. And yes, you were 100% right. This is a very special episode. 250 years for this great nation. I mean, how do you go wrong, right?
Exactly. Yeah. This entire year I've been going, where is all the 250 stuff? Well, nothing's happening, but now it's all this week.
Yes, it's all this week. And, we've got a couple of things today. We're kicking off our weekend per se over in Billingsley, Alabama. We're doing their big city celebration. They're going to start their parade at 4:00. Gates are going to open at the park at 5. We hit the stage at 6. We'll be there till 8:00. Then they've got a really special tribute. I'm really, really excited about this, folks. If you happen to be around the Billingsley area, come on out and join us, because they have a very special tribute to America. They've got a phenomenal fireworks display, rocking. It's going to be amazing. I can't even just tell you. It's going to be great. They're going to have concessions. Bring your lawn chairs. All the proceeds from the concessions are going to help the volunteer fire department. And then tomorrow, I will be recuperating because I've got to be out in this heat from about midday till late tonight. So I will be probably in bed, not having coffee, that is for sure. But we'll be over at the Casada Community Center for the Town of Casada Public Safety Group. They are actually hosting a whole day event. Starts at like 2:00 in the afternoon. So they'll be starting prep kind of early in the morning. But we will be on stage there from 4 to 5:15 tomorrow. A lot of great other artists lined up for the show as well. They've got Boston Butts. And then on Sunday, I will probably proceed to die briefly and a slow death and recuperate.
There you go. It's going to be a busy weekend for you. And for us as well. We're teaching line dance out at the Patriotic Palooza tonight. That's at Anglers Point in Lincoln, Alabama. So anybody in that area, please come out and join us. Free event, free parking, free admission, free everything, free line dancing.
Best at line dancing coach right there. I'm telling you, y'all need, if you want to learn, go see her.
Thank you, Jessie.
You're welcome.
All right. So you've been on the show many times, and I don't know exactly how long it's been, but we just kind of want to catch up on your life and what's been going. It seems like you're just going and growing and doing things all the time. So kind of give us an update of where we are right now.
Yeah, let me tell you, I can't even remember. You and I were trying to figure this out the other day when we were doing our tech check, and I'm like, I can't even remember when the last time it was that we got together. But I'm going to kind of back up a little bit, a couple of years, because I know it's at least been that.
Yeah.
I think the last time we probably spoke, I was probably still at Auburn as either an undergrad or in my master's program. I can't remember. But since then, Lord, life has changed. We'll start at COVID. How about we start at COVID year?
Yeah. Okay.
We were rocking and rolling, shows going great. We were touring full time. I'd finished my master's, and COVID rolled in, kicked us all off the road for, luckily me, only about a month and a half. But during that time, I'd said, you know what? Perfect time to go back to school. So I applied to go back and get my doctorate, was accepted, ready to rock and roll. And then they shut down the institution. So I'm like, well, how do we do this?
Right.
So in the melee, of course, all of the major artists stopped touring. We started getting calls left and right. Next thing I know, we're running 280 show dates in a matter of 320, 340 days. And I'm going, oh my gosh, this is a lot. And so we toured all through COVID, had some phenomenal shows, everything from small gigs, big gigs. We played the amp at Lake Martin, got to open for Confederate Railroad over there, 4th of July celebration. So like, it's kind of fun, full circle.
Yeah.
And so really, we kind of wrapped up that year, and I got a wild hair that I wanted to go run for Miss Limestone County Sheriff's Rodeo in 2021, and wanted to go run for Miss Rodeo USA. And I remember my mom asking me, she said, "Have you lost your mind?" I said, "Probably." I said, "But it's okay." I said, at this point, I've had to defer the PhD because the institution doesn't know quite what it was doing at the time, and COVID was throwing everybody off. And I said, "Sure, why not?" So compete in 2021, win Miss Limestone, spent the whole year touring on behalf of Lone Star Rodeo Company, and so went to Ohio, Kentucky, Georgia, you name it, and then competed for Miss Rodeo USA in January of 2022, won it, and spent the next 365 days representing the IPR. Yeah, there we go, photo, yes. Representing the IPR8. Fun fact about that photo, I was actually sick as a dog,
Oh,
and
no.
it was like right at 15 degrees outside that day, and all I had on was like literally a cami and my jeans, no under, like no extra thermals or anything. And Sherry
Wow.
Smith captured that photo. She was phenomenal. But
You were frozen.
I was frozen. I'm like, you can be sick, when you're frozen. It's like, okay, this looks so good, oh my gosh. And had a blast, spent the entire year getting to go to rodeos all across the country, was able to attend the WNFR for the first time. That was at Cinch Time Event Championships. That was the first year that they actually invited Miss Rodeo USA to attend the Cinch Time Event Championships, because Cinch is part of the PRCA. So it was really neat to see kind of the conglomeration of things come together. And really started going out to the Wrangler National Finals ever since that year, and it's been phenomenal because now we've had the opportunity to sing the national anthem for the WNFR Breakaway Roping Championships, Miss Rodeo America's Horsemanship. We do a lot for Miss Rodeo USA still, and it's been great, and it really solidified the brand that I had envisioned for all these years of America singing cowgirl. And so, when we got off the road and started getting calls the next year to really tour on the rodeo circuit as America Singing Cowgirl. Hey, can you do the opening on horseback? And can we, have you had the full band prior to the rodeo? And I'm like, sure, So we ended up down at the PCA Championships down in Biloxi, Mississippi. And it's been crazy. And in that same time, everything came back online at Auburn University, and I got a call from my advisor the year I was Miss Rodeo USA, and he said, "Hey, we have a position." And he said, "We actually have some funding. The USDA National Needs Fellowship, Scholarship, and Grant Program is available, and it pays tuition and it pays you a monthly stipend." I said, "Where do I sign?" I said, because I didn't want to have to go back and do my doctorate without, I wanted to come out student loan free. And so I actually signed on with Auburn in July of 2022. It was a 3-year contract, and signed on, started my classes in August to wrap up my year as Miss Rodeo USA, moved back to Auburn in 2023, started doing all my classes, all my research, was brought on as a research fellow with the Alabama Commission on Higher Education during that time, which was phenomenal, and ended up having quite the research dissertation piece that got a lot of attention, both nationally and statewide, that has implemented a lot of change in how programs are reported and how agriculture students are counted when it comes time for reporting processes. And with Auburn being a land grant institution, obviously, we want to make sure our students are counted and part of it.
Exactly.
And so wrapped all that up in 2025. So you can say between USA year and my PhD year, I was still touring, but then starting to focus more on writing the dissertation, which, by the way, you can find it out on Google. It's called An Introspective Look Through a 40-Year Lens, Agriculture Student Success, or just look up, Jessie Lynn Nichols. And if you want a really cool read, that's a fun one.
Okay.
And
Perfect.
So 2025, we get here, start working full time for the state, and January of this year, I loved it, was chief lobbyist, had a great time. And then this year I said, you know what, it's time to get back out on the road more full time, and, doing some marketing specialty pieces. And here we are.
Awesome. Well, folks, she's smart and beautiful.
I try.
And talented. So let's talk a little bit more about that talent. So Right now, how many original songs do you have out?
Oh Lord, there's 16 different projects. There's 10 on the first album. 3 of those were gospel. We're gonna say right at about 20, probably. I don't. I gotta count. I don't even
Oh, yeah.
know. There's
Okay, and then when you do your shows, do you mix in the originals with the covers, and how's the a 2 hour show work?
Yeah, so we call our set Country with a Twist. And so I'm going to do a shameless plug here for a show on July 31st at the Lyric in downtown Prattville. We are headlining what they're going to call Founders Day Eve. Yeah, there we go. And so our show truly is country with a twist. We have everything from originals, the music that you see on Spotify, Amazon, all of that we have posted. But then we like to throw in old country, new country. If you're an 80s and 90s rock and roll fan, sometimes 70s, depending on the era, we'll throw in a women of rock tribute. So we'll throw in Pat Benatar, Stevie Nicks, Melissa Etheridge, Linda Ronstadt. And then always a gospel song. Got to have that in there because that's what I grew up on. And who knows, sometimes you may get bluegrass. Never know what the crowd's feeling. May throw some of that in there, throw everybody a curveball. And I'm going to be honest, there's some rock set on this set as well. So we're truly throwing in some extra pieces, but you get a little bit of everything with our show. You will not leave any of our shows empty-handed, whether it's just me or even the full band, like what's going to be at the Lyric. We actually have got my guys coming in out of Nashville for that show. So it's going to be a good one.
That's awesome. So, speaking about Nashville,
Yes.
your band mostly, or all of them, live in Nashville. You live down here in Alabama. How does that work when you're going to do shows? And specifically speak about the regional or national shows.
Yeah. So when I've called my guys in from Nashville, and ironically, I have kind of a standard set of guys that I like to use. If they happen to not be available, I ask them, who would they recommend to fill the slot? And there's never a shortage of players who are willing to get out there, travel, do the job. And they're hungry for it, as far as they're looking for work, which is great. And most of these cats are insanely talented. You can throw like a pebble in Nashville and find, the next no greatest guitar player, singer, bassist, drummer. I'm like, everybody's talented in their own way. And for shows like that, ironically, we usually don't have rehearsal.
That's the way they are. They can just play.
I send them, like my guys, I have sent them the set. I've sent them the Spotify playlist. If there's a change in key or anything, I designate that on the set. And I'm like, look, this is pretty much how we're going to do it. If I need to send, if there's a certain way I want something introed, I usually have video of live performances that we've done and say, hey, here's how we actually lead into this song. But then once we pick it up, it is the same throughout. Right. So I can send that to the guys a month in advance, and they'll have it learned. I said, hey, if you've got questions when we do sound check, that's going to be our time to go over it. And here we go.
There you go. Yeah. So kind of take us back to, when I first met you, you were 17.
Yeah.
17. Yeah. And so you were the drill team coach, or the coach for the drill team, equine drill team. Yep. That I was on. And when I met you, I said, this girl's going somewhere. And you have.
I'm trying to.
But and you were singing back then. But how did you go from that to where you are now, and developing and knowing what to do at shows and all that stuff that you just talked about? How did you learn all that?
It's funny. I get asked this question a lot, and it's like, well, how did you do it? And I'm like, I just did it. I just, to me, it's just one of those things. I just did it. Really, when I had moved to Auburn, started my journey and doing my back degree, something just kept pulling on my shirt tail saying, you got to chase this dream. Like, if you don't, you're going to regret it. And I said, well, okay. And I remember distinctly, I was 2 weeks in at Auburn as an undergrad. And I called Mom and I said, I'm not quitting school, first of all. And she's like, oh, great. What harebrained idea have we come up with? And I said, but something is just pulling on my shirt tail about this music business. And I said, I think I need to start looking into this. And she said, well, okay. She said, as usual, your dad and I'll support you, but you got to do your homework. Do not get sued for something that, you failed to do your homework in. And she said, because I certainly don't know how the business works. We'd all ran businesses in our lifetime at that point, but the music business is a whole nother animal. It's a whole nother beast. So literally I started traveling up to Nashville at 17, started making the network connections. And again, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. The big man upstairs opened doors that should have never been opened for an independent artist from, that's not at least bringing money to the table to pitch out the first record. Right. And we're right off the heels of where Taylor Swift got her first major record deal because her dad bought her first 9 copies. Okay. So that was kind of what we were starting to see as the norm. And I'm like, well, I certainly do not have that kind of money to do this. I got to do it the old fashioned way. And I remember I actually had a Sony music rep tell me, he said, you're kind of doing this the hard way, aren't you? And I said, it's the hard way artists that are still relevant today. Reba McEntire, Garth Brooks, Loretta Lynn, she was still living at the time. Dolly. I'm like, they paved they pounded that pavement so hard that it stood. It just you threw it to the wall and it stuck. And I said, my goal in this is to basically be a female version of Garth Brooks. I want to be able to take a 10-year retirement and then come back and say, hey, we're doing a stadium tour and we're going to sell out every show. Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of the vision I had for it. And so literally I spent, this year will make 12 years that I've been pounding the pavement in this business. And figuring out, actually, there's a bookshelf. Y'all can't see it, but above my head, there's a whole cabinet full of books and music industry contacts and reading and how do you navigate the contract side of things. What is copyright? What is patenting? What is trademarking? What is the whole shebang? And I literally did all the grunt work. I didn't have a manager. And actually still don't. You're looking at the manager, the booking agent, the social media manager, the one who shoots all the content. And you have to until you reach a point of where they can get a team behind you that believes in the mission and the goal. Then you've got to put in your due time. And so that's what we've done. And I can't, the first single we released was Boots and Bling. It's a Cowgirl thing.
Love
and
that.
I'll remember I scheduled my first radio tour to promote A Softer Side of Country, which was my first self-produced album with Tony Bunger out of Eclectic. And Bill Moody called me and he said, I need you to send me an EPK. I've got the manager of the Oak Ridge Boys on the line. I'm 19 at the time now. Okay. This is like 2016. Okay. And I said, no, you don't, Bill. Don't quit pulling my chain. And he's like, no, I need you to send me this. And I'm like, oh, okay. What's an EPK? Help me out here. Keep in mind, this was a while back. So, okay, EPKs were just coming online. AI was not a thing at the time. Facebook was the main mode of social media. Okay, now it's Instagram or Snap. All of these things that's changed within a decade's time has been absolutely insane. So I pull over in Georgia and I get my laptop out and I'm like, Bill, I've only got one song out. He said, well, give me a couple from the album. I said, okay. So I threw him a couple. And sure enough, we got a call and they said, yeah, we want you to open the show. We're going to kick you off at starting time, not prior to. Show starts at 7. You're going to go on. You got a 45-minute set. And I said, okay. Do I need a band? Do I need me? And he's like, do you have backing tracks to all your records? And I said, I do. And he said, bring it with you. And at rehearsal, we'll run through front of sound, front of house, and lighting, and give us your cues, give them the list, and we'll fire. I said, oh, sounds great. And so we opened for them. That was my first major opener in August of 2016 down in Dothan, Alabama, in front of about 10,000 people.
Wow.
And it was one of the coolest experiences. And by far, Dwayne, Joe, and William, Lee, and Richard were, I couldn't have picked a better major opening group. They were so encouraging. And Richard Sturban came to me after I did Burn in Love as my closing song. And he actually missed his cue to go on stage. And he said, I have never heard a female do this. And he said, you just knocked that out of the park.
Wow.
And he said, if Elvis was here, he said, I'd be calling him saying, we got to get in the studio. And I'd be like, oh, thank you. Just, you don't know what to do at that point. You're like, okay.
Let's go.
And so, and then say the rest is history, truly. But it's doing your due diligence. You know very well how I worked in with the equine team. The drill team. It's like, guys, we got to put in the time and the hours. Let's be specific. I'd have you guys get on foot. Let's put in what we got to do in order to be great. And then y'all ended up coming home with a world title. So
yeah, there you go.
how do we go wrong?
All right, so that was kind of one of your first things that you did as an opener. So list some other artists that you work with and how it was working with them and all that.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to tell this story. This is a fun one. So Jamie Johnson, love him, love Jamie. One of his youngsters, as I call him, not youngsters, but it's basically his nephew, might as well be, is one of my players. And his mom and I was like, hey, Jamie's got the Nikki Mitchell Foundation concert coming up at Riverwalk, and he wants y'all to come in and perform. And I'm like, okay, great. What do we need to do? And so Hunter and I get together. We, pick up 3 songs. Of course, we've got a large set. And he's like, but they do a pre-party at Jamie's house over there off Trotman Road the night before. And there's a lot of people there. Bring your guitar. They'll have a sit around. We'll play. I'm like, okay, cool. All right, we get over there. I've got my guitar, my $3,000 Martin guitar that does not need to be outside, right? Okay. And I'm sitting here going, okay, this is cool. And we're, Jamie and I was talking, and Hunter and I, are all talking, fraternizing. And he's like, we got to go get up there and, sing us a couple songs. So, okay, we go get on the flatbed trailer. They've got all the buses parked and a cornhole tournament going on. And we do a couple songs, like, all right, guys, y'all have a good night. And Jamie's like, keep going. And I'm going,
Oh, wow.
just kidding, we're back. We're going to do some more songs for you guys. I'm like, how many? He's just like, until I say stop. And I'm going, okay.
Okay.
2.5 hours later,
Oh my
we're still
God.
on stage. And we're singing in front of Jamie, Dennis Quaid, Cody Jinks. All of them are at his house, right?
Right.
So I'm going, Lord, forget me having a voice for tomorrow night at Riverwalk. So we get to Riverwalk Stadium. We do our sound check time. We park, get in by the buses, all the things. And we're chilling out in the artist thing. Well, here comes, Cody. We're talking to him, talking to Andy Watley and them. And it's just a great evening. Well, we get on stage, we're up there and we're closing with Gold Dust Woman. And Hunter and I, man, we're just tearing it up. We're having a field day. And so I get done Montgomery, Alabama, thank you guys so much. Hunter's playing me out, and I go to get off stage, and Jamie's like, and I'm going, we're not done. We're back. Just kidding. And Hunter looked at me like, what are we doing? I said, we're doing more songs. And I'm like, I don't know why. He just said, keep going. So we're going. We had 6 more songs, and I found out later we were waiting on Dennis Quaid because he was late. So he was the next one to go online. I'm going,
Yeah.
okay. So, it's been so neat. Like, I've worked with Jess Muse. She's awesome. Corey Smith, Kurt J. He's been great to work with. And one of my producers, his wife is Earlene Mandrell. So from the Mandrell sisters and Barbara Mandrell and all of them. And, it's so neat. One of my good friends, Bobby Tomberlin, he's a writer. He's from Laverne, Alabama, but he wrote One More Day for Diamond Rio. One of the writes, actually a couple of our co-writes that are coming up and that's on this next album is, Martin Armour. He's from Muscle Shoals. He wrote Moon Over Georgia for Shenandoah. That's what I love about Sundays for Craig Morgan. It's just, I look back at it now and I realize I'm going, holy smokes. We have done a lot in my short 30 years of life.
Yes. So talk a little bit about the experience with writing. Now, do you go up to Nashville to write? Do you write at home or both, or how's that work?
So primarily what we do is I like to be in the writer's room. Now, during COVID, we did more Zoom. We did a lot of stuff from home, a lot of things there that was easy peasy. But when I write, I generally schedule about a week at a time or a few days at a time, because normally when I come into a writer's room, I have ideas. It's things that I'm wanting to get out and get ready. I've got something specific in mind. So I'll go up to Muscle Shoals or I'll go up to Nashville. I do have a few local writers here that I work with. So we may take a trip down to the beach. I don't like writing at home, and here's why. Unless an idea strikes me and I just get on a roll. I feel like at home, this is my place to come in and relax and take a break from everything. So I try not to do too much of my quote work or creative work at home. I try to go places that I can take the phone, put it in a room, not have it, and do all of that. So, but there are sometimes I can be sitting out here at the house and something will hit me and I will, jot it down and then carry it to the next writer session.
Okay. Now, do you normally write most of your songs like with other people, or is it just yourself?
Most of them are with co-writes usually. 9 times out of 10, you've got a better option and better chance of writing a hit with someone than solo. Very rare occasion is there a song that, comes out solo, like Boots and Bling was a solo song that was written, at home. Old Pair of Boots off my first album, that I did write at the house. But I have found as time goes on, when you throw the idea out in the open and you have that banter back and forth, you usually end up with a better product when there's at least one other writer involved.
Okay. And how many albums do you have out?
Oh, Lord. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we got 4 albums and a couple of singles that are out.
Okay. And what about upcoming releases? Anything in the works?
We've got some stuff in the works in Nashville. I can't say specifically yet what we're working on, but it is a new album project. I can say that. I'm waiting on final things to be finalized so I can, say who's going to be producing this next album. And the co-writers on it I'm just going to say they are the best.
Okay, awesome. Good to hear that.
all of the mainstreams that you hear right now are on this record as far as rights. Got some great hits behind the scenes as well, and I'm sitting in queue. I'm waiting,
That's
very
so
patiently.
awesome. Congratulations on that. Now, you've been going up to Nashville for a while. Have you seen, or what changes have you seen in Nashville? And this show is Western lifestyle related, so
Yeah.
Also there's a huge surge in country and Western, and I see more horses on commercials than I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
Cowboys, cowgirls, what is happening?
So, an interesting tout is my first trip up to Nashville. I said about 10 years ago that actually Muscle Shoals would return to being the music capital. And what I mean by that is you've got to think Muscle Shoals had Aretha Franklin, my brain just went south.
Etta James.
Aretha, Etta, thank you, Etta. I was like, I can see her face plain as day, and I'm like, it just went that direction.
Yeah, tons of people have recorded.
Alan Jackson, Steven Tyler has been back in the studio up there in the last few years. Some of your major pop artists have been back up at Muscle Shoals, and I called that about 10 years ago because everything was so corporate in Nashville, and still is to an extent. Now, I will say Nashville's gotten smart. And in the era of social media, digital, the accessibility of people to discover new artists, they've realized, okay, we can't quite control the main as much as they would like to. They still have the money side of it, but they've had to adapt. And one thing with Nashville, there's a lot of great things in Nashville. There's a lot of things that I wish would go back to the old way. I know here recently, Ryman Entertainment Group put up the Opry and Ryman for sale at a 70% stakeholder piece. So you're seeing now almost a capitalization on a market that is mainstream, but it's losing a little bit of what I'm going to call its luster, meaning the reverence for what it is. Used to, it was very hard to get an invite to the Opry, but now I feel like they have a lot more artists that I've never heard of, and I go to look and I'm like, what major feat has happened in order for them to be on the Opry stage? And that's not discounting anybody, but that was the show. That was the show that was the largest syndicate, piece and the largest FM frequency for the longest time. And I just feel like Nashville's become too compartmentalized in a way of we're catering to the tourist. Music Row has been basically torn down. There's only a few select studios that remain on Music Row. Of course, most of the artists nowadays, they record away from Nashville. They're usually not in the studio anymore downtown or at Music Row, but they did it to build apartments. They did it to cater to the 1,000+ people a day that were moving there during COVID, you know. And it's sad in a way because I feel like history is slowly being taken away from Nashville. However, it's making history in a new way too. So there's a catch-22. But prime example, we played for the first time. I usually do not play downtown. I just don't. I don't play the bars downtown. They're usually not lucrative for the artists. But Ariat has a store on 5th and Broadway, and we did a 3-hour show down there. Had a blast, had a ball, and we'll be back. We'll be back doing the shows down there. And I love the write-arounds. The write-arounds still hold a true piece in Nashville history. You've got the Bluebird. You've got all of this that takes place, and your write-arounds are truly where it's at. Downtown, Broadway, all of that, it's a tourist trap now. Where before you could go to Tootsie's and maybe see the next big artist performing on the stage. But now most of them are compartmentalized to a degree of where that's their job. That's those artists' job, is to play those events.
Right. Wow. Well, I'm glad I asked you that question because that's a lot of great insight that I didn't really realize it was that far. So you feel
Yeah.
like a lot of the artists will be moving back to Muscle Shoals area to record?
A lot of them are and have. I know several artists have already sealed a deal with Fame to do their next album and their next studio project. And then still there's some, like I said, there's some that Ella Langley's last record, Dandelion, was not recorded in Nashville. It was recorded in Texas. She, they went to Miranda Studio there, did it in Texas. It's the ability to move files now digitally. And then here's the thing, you may not have a whole set of folks in the studio that day, but okay, I need James over here to cut me an accordion part. All right, well, he lives in New York. We're going to send him this file so he can record over it, and he's going to send it back to us. And I'm going, how do we do this? But it's really neat to see how the industry morphs. And they say Nashville's slow in turnover. They used to say it was a 10-year turnover town. I would argue now it's a 5-year turnover town because they are catching up with pace, but you still have the slow rate of how quickly do they catch on.
Right. Okay, that's kind of fascinating. You mentioned FM somewhere in there, so that made me think about your podcast and your involvement with radio. So tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, so during COVID, I decided to start a podcast. It was going to be a hobby, just something to be fun and uplifting because all the doom and gloom we were hearing on the news and everything else. And so I launched the Be a Dreamcatcher podcast. And next thing I know, it's winning the Podcast of the Year award for Women of the West.
Wow.
We have had Joanne Cash on the show. We've had Tyler Dean McDowell, which is Ronnie Dean's son. I've had Amberly Snyder on the podcast. Yes. And, it's just been one of those things that I expected it to be a side hobby, nothing crazy. And now it's, we do one episode a month. Now I will say in June, I failed to get my rear in gear on that one, but it's been busy. It's like, sorry, folks, y'all have a replay from, May.
So do you have people seeking you out to be on your show because of your win?
A good bit. What is nice is I don't want to say I'm selective, but I am kind of selective about who do we have on the podcast. And I don't want to say you have to have accomplishments, because I mean, I know how we started out. I didn't have accomplishments, and I took everything that we could get. But there is the standard of, I'm like, I want to hear from the Be a Dreamcatcher perspective. Okay, what dreams have you had? What roadblocks did you hit? But then how did you overcome them? And then how is that translating now into your dream and what you're doing?
Right.
And some experience in life.
Right. I was about to say the success story is very
Yeah.
popular. I love watching movies that are about music artists that were nothing, and then they became, world famous. So that's kind of what you're talking about, like their dreams coming true, and everybody
Yes,
loves that kind of story.
absolutely. Who doesn't?
Yeah, which is kind of a little bit with mine as well, because I look to cover people that uh, maybe have a little bit of fame, but maybe they've just got a great story in what they're doing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I always say everyone's got a story, but some
Yes.
stories are more interesting than others. So you do have to be a little bit selective, right?
Yep.
And then
Yep.
selectivity goes the other way too, because people that don't see me as anything, I'm a nothing, they're not going to come on the show. So, you just really have to kind of play it both ways. And
Right.
I've interviewed very famous people, but then I also interview what I call the common man, because sometimes those stories are great and people need to hear them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We all, it's one of those things of, yes, famous people are great, but that sometimes is not the realistic expectation for everybody.
Yes.
And so it's amazing. And the fact of, I try, when I bring folks on the podcast, I want to show them they're human too. There's no secret to this, except for they had a dream and they weren't afraid to go for it.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of dreams and going for things, talk about your Cowgirl leadership.
Yes,
I don't know, that was an
designation.
honor that you received, right? And that was with the 30 under 30?
Yes,
Is that
Cowgirl
right?
magazine. So yeah, this is what's amazing is Cowgirl magazine does a new piece called Cowgirl 30 under 30. And basically it recognizes 30 women from across the world, literally, that are under the age of 30, who have done amazing feats and different things such as this. Well, this year they did things quite interestingly. So I did not receive the 30 under 30 designation, but because of everything that we have done, and we've been in the business doing this for quite some time, they actually asked me if I'd be a founding member of their new leadership academy.
Wow.
And basically, because we've already been in the industry doing this, I don't want to say we were overqualified, but that's kind of what I say, we were overqualified. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. So what's great about that is, with the Leadership Academy, you still get the privileges of going to the 30 under 30, networking event, the Leadership Academy. This year it was held in Arlington, Texas. Best 3 days of my life. And it was just amazing. I will say I was dog tired, because I did an event for the preliminary elections on Tuesday night, left that night, drove to Pearl, Mississippi, got in bed at 2 a.m., got back up at 5:30, was on the road by 6 to finish the drive to Arlington,
Been there,
was
done
at
that.
my Airbnb by noon, and had to be at the conference by 1.
Wow.
So
Yeah, I followed that little journey.
yeah, I was like,
you can do it.
there's TikToks too. I'm like, y'all do not come at me at 6 o'clock in the morning with no makeup on. It has been a day. Like, I haven't started yet. But it was so neat, because Cowgirl magazine truly, and I can speak to this because you do the exact same thing, empowering women in the industry, but then also being able to share the stories of what makes them great. So, we had the founders of Double D Ranchwear. We had Junk Gypsy, which Junk Gypsy actually did Miranda's first wedding to Blake Shelton and are from the same area. But fun fact, the fashion show that I emceed out in Las Vegas last year for Rodeo Quincy, they were a partner with, and the suit that I wear, you may occasionally see that black suit with the red roses and stuff.
Right.
That is the Junk Gypsy Rodeo Quincy collaboration piece, and it's called the Here's to Her collection. So during that time, Miranda Lambert's mom, Lainey Wilson's mom, and Ella Langley's mom was a part of that show. And so we got to spend a whole weekend together
Yeah.
backstage, getting to do all of the fun things. And so it was just an amazing experience. And the fact of just knowing your work's been recognized, knowing that you are valued in what you have to offer and bring to the industry. And Ken and his staff was absolutely amazing. And what's funny is I ran into people I knew from my years Miss Radio USA. And then I met new folks that I'm like, I know them on social media, but I've never met them in person. So it's really
So,
neat.
did you get to tour the entire Cowgirl Museum out there?
We did, but one section is closed off right now because they are getting ready to have a Miranda Lambert exhibit, and all of
Oh,
her clothes from her previous tour will be on display there.
that's fantastic. I got to go
Yeah,
out in January for my travel agent graduation. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I spent like so much time in that museum taking pictures of everything and looking at
Oh
every
yeah.
plaque, and it is just so amazing. I loved it.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, and they do a great job there, putting all of that together. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. So when we were talking about songwriting, did we mention the Songwriters Festival that you were involved in?
We did not. So last year, we kind of what got me back into the music again full time and really chasing this hot and heavy again was we were a featured writer and featured artist at the Muscle Shoals Songwriters Festival. And what I loved about this is it truly gave me back my love for it, the love for missing the songwriting, missing what we do, full time. And we had a great roundup at the Lava Room, and we've put in to be back at the festival again this year. So we'll see if we get back in this year. But a fun fact that I did not realize is our round specifically was chosen by Smack Song and Smack Records out of Nashville.
Oh,
This basically, we were featured as kind of the writers to watch coming up through the ranks. And so I felt really good
that's
about knowing
cool.
that when I'm going through like 2 songs in the last year. We'll take it.
That's
But
awesome. Yeah. So
it was exciting.
one of the things I failed to mention about Muscle Shoals in that area is they always say, and I don't know if it's true or not, but there's something is in the water there that
Mhm.
that stokes the creativity. Have you heard that?
Oh yeah, there's a song about it. Actually, a very good friend of mine with he's now retired, but Florence Academy of Fine Arts. They released a song called "Something in the Water," and truly, when we go down to Cypress Moon Studios, it is on the river, and there is something about that river specifically that it there's a peace, there's a calm, there's something in that area that just makes it so different and magical.
Does that area go back to back in history for Native Americans
Mhm.
and
It does. Yeah,
do you
it
know that
does.
story? Because I think I've heard of that, but I kind of forgot what it was.
Yeah, it does. And I can't remember what tribe specifically was located. I actually want to say it was Cherokee, but which is what I am. But it's been a hot minute since I've done my Native American background history there.
I did not realize that about you.
Yep,
Tell
I'm a
us about
card carrying
that.
member of the Cherokee Nation.
Really?
Was yeah, card carrying member. Actually was invited out. If you watch, go to YouTube or go to OCO TV. It's OSIYO. You actually will see the Our People, Our Tribe. And I was actually featured. They spent the entire year, my years Miss Radio USA, they would come out. They came out to the house and filmed. They came to one of our rodeos in Georgia and filmed out in Oklahoma. And we actually have about an 8-minute segment there where we talk about the traveling and being a part of the Cherokee Nation and, yeah, being a part of the tribe.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah,
it's pretty
my
cool.
my ex sister-in-law was a Cherokee.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome. It's so neat. And, I love our heritage and our history. It's amazing.
Wow. So, what have you learned about through the years? You talked about all the things that you've learned, but what about just like professionalism and performance? Could you give
You
some
know,
pointers to people who are coming up?
yeah, I can. You've got to be coachable, but at the same time, you've also got to know who you are. Um, I'll give you a prime example. As a businesswoman, I started my first corporation at 15. So like 15 years I've been in business for myself and now own 3 of those corporations. And you have to, especially if you're a female, you have to be firm, but also you've got to be gentle because, that's what's expected. But at the same time, you've got to know what you expect out of your business, out of your employees, out of whatever it is you're chasing. But there is a way to handle people. Sometimes it's best leaving things unsaid and just sit and watch. If you're in a room and you're the smartest person in the room, it's time for you to step out and go find another room where you're not the smartest person in the room, because you will never know everything that there is to know about your business. You could be an expert, what we call a content expert, but still learn something new every day. And I always tell my students this: look, the minute you stop learning is the minute you need to hang it up, because you've now reached a point of where you're becoming complacent, or you're starting to have a king-like mentality that is not going to end well when push comes to shove. So if I had advice to give to anybody, it would be coachable, be open-minded to ideas, but then really pray about it. And does it align with what you have envisioned for your goal, your company, your dream? And then go for it. I mean, put the hammer down and go. I tell folks, you are in control of your destiny. Your dream can only begin and end with you. So nothing anybody says, we see a lot of the cyberbullying and different stuff in this day and time. And there is nothing that anybody can say that you cannot talk to the Lord about and get on top of it and do. That is strictly a choice you have to make. How bad do you want it?
Exactly. Now talk just a little bit. I mean, this is kind of, could be negative, could be positive.
Okay.
When someone is coming up the ranks like you are or have, you can keep your same friends or you can lose some along the way. Yeah, that's kind of a touchy subject. What do you think about that, and how do you handle that?
So, speaking from a very recent experience of someone who was in my circle for 10 years, very close in my circle for 10 years, and then seeing another side of this person and choices that were made that have cost us the friendship. There for a while, I asked the question of why. Why did I trust this person? This was my confidant, but then I see these things that are unfolding, and I'm like, why didn't I see that? Why didn't I see them for who they were? And the reality is, in that is, I had growing to do. There was growing to be done, and one of the things I can remember this very distinctly. When I was praying about it, I felt like the Lord told me they can no longer sit at your table because I'm elevating that table. And now and you also had to go through this because there's somebody else that's going to need help in the same situation, that's felt the same emotions, has been in the same shoes, asked the questions, and you've got to be able to help them out of it, reach back down and help them out of the pit. And I'm like, okay. And in this business, and really, quite frankly, in any business, the saying is true: do not do business with friends, do not do business with family. You keep that completely separate. And then be careful of who you let in your circle, because not everybody who enters into your life is meant to be, I'm going to say, I don't want to say a blessing, because I'm like, they are a blessing even if they're a trial. They're not always meant to be there forever. It's there for a season. They were there to teach you something. They were there to challenge you a little bit. And then at the end of the day, it's like, people are people. And when you start elevating or start seeing some success, you may see sides of people that you never thought were possible.
Exactly.
But it happens, and then you can't wear it on your sleeves. You just got to be able to say, you know what? That's not on me. That's on you. And sorry you feel that way. Wish you could go with, but the train stops here.
It sounds like you've got a good foundation for how to deal with that, and I can hear in what you're saying. your faith. So talk a little
Yes.
bit about your faith journey and what all that means to you and how you
Lord have
incorporate that into your life and your career.
Lord
That's a
have
big
mercy.
question.
Well, yeah, my faith journey started when I was a wee baby. No, I'm kidding. um, it is such a funny thing. I've always operated under, I want to treat people the way I want to be treated. If ever, and actually, I can recall a time you and I talked about this in a whole different situation of, um, I do not intentionally mean to hurt anybody's feelings. I am very blunt. Is that we were at, I'm going to pull this back up, that we were at, and I said something to you a little bit, abruptly, like, go do this or do something. And I remember I hurt your feelings and I didn't mean to. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me I hurt your feelings? And because that's never my intention. My intention is, if we're iron sharpening iron, we're going to have some abrasiveness along the way, and we've got to understand that. And so I've always operated under, you treat people the way you want to be treated. You expect the best out of folks. And unfortunately people will let you down. So I have definitely learned, I cannot look to man to help me with my problems, if that makes sense. Anytime that I have a concern, I'm uneasy about something, it's best I don't go talk to those friends about it, because they're going to have their opinion of what they would do. And I can say this, I've had my opinion of what I would do. And I've been that friend that has told somebody that.
Yeah.
And that's not the way to do it. The Lord knows the dream and the idea in my heart behind it long before he ever gave me the idea for it. Being able to let it go and let him have it is a whole nother battle that everybody's going to deal with at some point. I was a master of saying, okay, you can have this, but I'm keeping this one right over here because I got this one. I got it. I can handle it. Guess what? I can't handle none of it. So it's one of those things of, you got to hold on by letting go. And I'm like, he gave me this dream and this passion and this idea and vision a long time ago. He wouldn't have given it to me if he did not plan on keeping his intentions to see me succeed in it. And that's really, I get up every morning. Used to, I was OCD. I would have the planner ready. This is what I've got to accomplish today. This is this. I get up now and I'm like, Lord, it's going to be a great day for whatever you have planned. I don't know what we're doing, but here we go. and that's truly now how I've had to, just kind of operate. Every day's a new day, and I don't plan on wasting a single minute of it worrying about things that I can't control.
Yeah, absolutely. And, a lot of people are really in touch with their faith, and they know, they hear a voice. Maybe they talk to God. They know the path, but then some people have no clue. What path am I supposed to take? How do you hear that connection and know that you're on the right path?
That's a trick question.
Sorry.
That's a trick question. I'm going to back this up. When I was 8 years old, my mom had taken me to see Gretchen Wilson at Montgomery at the Deer Coliseum. And when we got done, we walked out the backstage door, and there were her 4 tour buses parked right there. And I was like, Mom, are those her tour buses? She's like, yeah, those are hers. She's probably got one for her, and then one for the production team, and then the others for the band. And it didn't take me 3 seconds to turn around and tell her, well, when I become famous, I'm going to have 8 of them. I was 8 years old, okay? Don't ask me where that came from, but when I became famous, I was going to have 8 tour buses. Don't know why I was going to have 8, but I was going to have 8 tour buses, by George. And not too long after that, I was probably maybe about 9 or 10. My grandmother and I, we went to Mexico, Tipico, and Prattville. I can tell you exactly what booth it was in, where we were at, and what was going on. And we're talking about something totally off subject, nothing about faith, nothing about anything. Okay. And I just stop eating and I look up at her and I say, man, God's got something big planned for my life. I don't know what it is, but it's something big. And then we went on to eating and just kept going through that. And I can't explain it except for I know the Lord speaks to me, and it's usually I hear I usually, there's that inner voice that directs and
Mhm.
is like, you've got to sit and wait on me, you know. Of course, I was brought up in a very strong, faith, very praying household. My women, the women in our family were God fearing women, but they also didn't take no crap either. They were very bold, very spot on in their faith and in their journey. And I think a lot of that's been embodied in what I've done over the years. And now as I'm older and I start to see things and really, okay, understand what is the Bible talking about. You can preach it all day long, but until you practice it, does it truly make sense? And I like what Charlie Kirk said, there is nothing in life that if you apply what the principles of the Bible teaches, that your life doesn't exorbitantly change and become better. And that's true. I found that to be true. There is nothing in life that we face that there's not an answer to. There is an answer in that book for everything that we face in life. It's a matter of, do we practice it, and do we pray for direction to practice it? Now you have to be careful sometimes when you pray a prayer.
Don't pray for patience. You'll be
Don't pray for
tested.
patience. Yeah, you're gonna get the you're gonna get the brunt end of that, and you're gonna get tests and patience.
Yes.
But really, the biggest thing is when you look at it from the flip side on my end, I'm like, Lord, just guide my steps and put me where you would have me. And that's really where I've had to become and be restful at it. There's nothing that I could do that he cannot do exceedingly and abundantly more.
Yes.
My effort alone is in vain unless I have him leading the way.
Yeah, opening those doors, and you referred to that earlier. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's just it always just slaps me in the face when something like that happens. Like, oh my gosh, look what you did for me, and I didn't even dream it for myself.
Yep.
We talked about, I got invited to teach at the Field and State Music Fest, so that's coming up in 2027. But my goodness, that's already opened doors already, and I did not even expect that. So thank you, Jesus.
It's crazy. Yes, praise the Lord. Yes,
praise the Lord.
I love it.
Well, we're almost out of time, but I just wanted to get a quick update on upcoming events. I saw something, and I hope it's still going on, that you're going up to Canada in September. Is that right?
Yes. So I talk about doors opening when I was the MC up at the Radio Quincy Fashion Show out in Las Vegas. I met this amazing woman. Her name is Jane Stewart, and she is 60-something years old, but let me tell you, this woman is on fire. Her Instagram is Inspired by Jane. Y'all need to go check her out. She's awesome. Long story short, this connection.
I've seen her. She leans into the camera a lot.
Yes. And she's like, don't let anybody determine, who you are and all of this great stuff. And so one great thing about it is that, we have been doing all of these great things. And a friend of hers, Marion, they met through a mutual connection as well. And they have this brand new, Marion is an artist, and she's loved Jane's post, and it's all inspired about healing and doing all this. So we are doing a huge event at Smithfield Hats up in Calgary, Alberta, in September. And they actually will be doing live auctions for those 5 art pieces that Marion has painted. There's going to be a fashion show involved. And 50% of the proceeds from that event are going to Little Warriors, which helps children up in that area with, childhood sex abuse, trauma, all of the great things. So I'm super excited about that and to be a part of this event. And they've asked me to MC it. And I'm just tickled pink. This will be my first time getting to go up into Canada, and I'm really excited.
That's awesome. So no one would ever accuse you of not knowing what to say. You talk very well.
Yes.
But have you done any MC training, or is that just natural to you?
This is all natural. Yeah. It's all the time that I spent in 4-H in radio. I started on radio at 16. We're back in it again. It's a matter of being able to fly off the cuff and read the room and say what needs to be said and go.
Awesome. Now, I did not know you were in radio at 16, so just briefly talk about that and then we'll go.
Yes. Yes. So my first on-air disc jock gig was with Cool Classic Hits out of Wetumpka, Alabama. I was on the Friday Night Live show with DJ Ziggy, and it was a rock station, but we streamed worldwide. and was on that show until I was probably about 21, when I had to step aside and continue to travel and tour and do all of that. So, but did that, have been on air back and forth. You may hear me on News Talk now every once in a while. And yeah, we have a great time and enjoy it. And, I work now with a lot of marketing and digital pieces. So if anyone needs any help with marketing and digital and, radio placement, we can get you there.
Awesome. Someone popped a comment in here. Let's see what that
Yes.
is.
Like,
Ronnie Lynn says,
yay.
great job, ladies. Have a happy 4th of July. Have a blessed day. Awesome. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, we appreciate you listening, and all the replay viewers. Thank you.
Yes,
a lot of
absolutely.
reviews come afterwards, and we understand that.
Yes, it's a busy weekend, understandably.
Yeah. Well, Jessie, thank you so much for joining me and just giving me your updates and giving everybody inspiration. Honestly, I think probably this is one of the best interviews you've ever done with me. You
Thank
really
you.
opened up your heart and shared everything. I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you for having me, and let's not wait another 6 to 10 years to do it again.
That is right. We got to have some more updates, especially after that Canada trip. That's going to be awesome.
Yes, we'll have to get on and we'll have to do it again.
All right, so let's see. On social, you need to follow Jessie Lynn.
Yep.
Right, and then on your website, it's jessielynn.net. Is that correct?
That is right.
Okay, so what can they find on your website?
You'll find show dates, the About section, the Be a Dreamcatcher podcast. You can listen to the latest episode right there in the meta side of things. And then you can see all of our sponsors. You can shop with our sponsors. We've got exclusive discount codes that if you're needing something specific, you can save a little bit of money when you shop with them. And then, of course, you can go visit our merch store while you're at it. All of our t-shirt designs and most of our bags are direct to ship. So when you order, you actually will have an immediate turnaround time. It will go into production and ship straight to your doorstep. And then like koozies, stuff like that, you can come see us, get those at our shows. Same thing with CDs and all of that in the between.
Awesome. And so next show date is tonight, right?
Tonight, 6 to 8 up in Billingsley.
Okay, well, just talk about that. And that's to celebrate the 250th of our country.
Yep.
Happy birthday, America! Oh, where's my flag? I gotta get my flag.
Yeah. I'm gonna do this. I'll fly over here.
Oh, well, I've had the best time with you. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story. Y'all make sure you go and follow her, and also follow Wildflower Western, so you know when we go live, and come back and just learn all about this Western lifestyle that we love so much. All right, thank you, Jessie. Have a good day.
Thank you guys. Happy 4th. Thank you.
Happy 4th. Bye.